Hey everybody, this is Jim at SP500chart.com using time-honored techniques to understand modern markets, featuring daily technical analysis videos of the S&P 500 index. That's at SP500chart.com. This video is going to be looking at the Apple chart, AAPL, as if you didn't know that. And before we do it, I just need to remind you that nothing in this video or at SP500chart.com is intended to be used as investment advice. It's for educational purposes only. I can draw lines on charts, but you have to draw your own conclusions from your own research and make investment decisions that are suitable for your personal financial situation. I am not a licensed financial professional, just a guy that draws lines on charts. So let's draw some lines on Apple's chart. The first thing I want to say, I do this with some fear and trepidation, because Apple is one of those stocks that has, like its products, an almost cult following, it seems. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I'm just, sometimes some stocks are just a special case. And Apple may kind of fall into that category, if any of them do. I'm doing this video because I made a comment on Tuesday after Apple was up 6% for the day. I made the comment that Apple looked like it was possibly going to be in some trouble from a technical standpoint, which after a 6% up day doesn't seem like a real bright thing to do. But lo and behold, I'm reading headlines today in various financial publications where people are now saying, hey, what's up with Apple? And I just want to kind of, for a little bit, toot my horn about saying that back then, but it could have been said actually the day before on Monday, and we're going to get into that and tell you why. But first I want to show you is that Apple has been in this just huge uptrend that I don't need to tell you about or anybody else. This uptrend goes all the way back. If you look at it in coarse terms on a 6-day chart here, it goes all the way back to 2001, and you can see that it formed this two-year plus base and then took off and ran from roughly $7 a share all the way up to 83, pulled back a bit to about 50, ran to almost 200, actually did make 200, pulled back to about 80. Now remember that it was 200, pulled back to 80. Okay, and that was at a time when Apple's products were going strong, not the iPad, but the iPod. And, Apple was definitely on the move then. That was a big correction. Now we have gone from the high 70s to well over 600 in one fell swoop. And, guys, that kind of begs the question, where's some kind of counter trend to help consolidate that huge move? When is that going to happen? Had to adjust my chart there. Well, let's look at it on a little bit different scale here. I think we're going to see this on a 3-day chart. We're going to zoom in. Matter of fact, maybe we can even see it on a 2-day chart. We're going to zoom in here on the trading that's taken place since late 2009 after it came off this bottom and kind of established something of a channel that is marked by these two, I think they're kind of brown lines. I'm not quite sure why I made them brown. But you can see that Apple went in between these lines pretty nicely, kind of failed to reach that top line through late 2011, but instead entered what for a while looked like it might be a topping pattern, because we had a peak, a double peak, and then another peak. It almost looked like this was setting up to be a head and shoulders, but it got saved, turned into a consolidation that lasted for roughly 6 months between these two green lines. Then Apple took off and broke out. But the thing that concerns me a little bit is that Apple blew out over the top of this channel line, and this line was moving up at a very healthy pace. So it makes you kind of wonder what's going on with that move. A lot of times, just like panic bottoms will sometimes drop out of channels, descending channels, and you kind of get a clue that, wait a minute, this may be capitulation here, because this has really dropped down out of the channel. A lot of times that is a clue that a turn is about ready to take place. So when Apple got out over this line right here, that looked suspicious to me. Now let's take an even closer look. If we look at an hourly chart, we can see that since the beginning of the year, a new, very aggressive channel has been established between these two red lines. The minimum target from that consolidation was roughly 504. It made that no problem. Then it got out over this line after some, this is probably where the resistance was right here. It didn't want to get over that line, pulled back, and then it just popped up over that. But I'll show you something that is reason for concern. And that is, once it popped up over that line, Apple made, over the course of about a month, a pretty classic little topping pattern. Now, it's small, okay? Even though it is roughly 30-something points high in a $600 stock, that's small. But a topping pattern it is. And it happened right after it got over this long-term channel line. And true to form, after it made that topping pattern on Monday of this past week, it broke down not only out of this top pattern, which is a broadening top, but it also broke down out of that red channel. Okay? Then we had Tuesday, which was that big up day where everyone's saying Apple is back. But you know what? I looked at that, and this is why I said what I said on Tuesday. After that 6% day, I just wanted to show people, guys, that is, well, it actually hadn't made it all the way, but that was about 80% on its way to a back test of that line, of that broken support line. And we know that stocks like to do that. So this is what I'm kind of looking at right now. It looks to me like Apple is in a pretty weak position. If it comes down and starts to test the 570s, this line cannot be counted on to act as support. Now you may look at it and say, well, it looks like it was support right here at the low here on Tuesday. But I want to remind you that while that is the case, there's another reason why we would expect support there, and that is basically this gap back here in the week of the 12th. That when it gapped up here, that left a lot of people in the dust, so to speak, who probably had orders in saying, if Apple ever gets down to that gap level around the 570s, count me in. Well, that's probably what created this strong rally that went all the way from 572 to 620 over the course of 2 days. But look at what happened today, and look at what happened yesterday. It started to back up off of this line. So I made mention on my little chart comments, it was not a video, but I made mention that, if you're a long-term Apple holder, you might want to consider a stop, at that same level that was the low on, I believe that was on Tuesday. Because if that gets taken out, then I think Apple is probably getting set up to come down to 500 or even the high 400s, 480s, 490 area, because I don't really see anything to expect in the way of support once you get underneath this little cluster right here. And remember, when you have a rising channel and you break out over the top of that channel, it's not a wise thing to expect that rising line to provide support. And like I said, it looks like it did it on Tuesday, but there is a secondary reason to expect this bounce here. If this comes down and takes this out, then Apple will likely fall a good bit further. So let's say if 570 gets taken out on conviction, and that would probably mean a move to the 560s, mid 560s, then I'm thinking that's probably going to set up a cascade of selling. I'd keep powder dry, because Apple is probably going to find a bottom somewhere down here at one of these expected levels. It would probably either be this line here or even this green line that was what it broke out from back in January. And again, that would be this this consolidation area here. That would serve as a nice area of support. But you know, come to think of it, that means it would have to fall a lot in a hurry. Probably not going to happen. So kind of nix that. Look at this rising line right here. Perhaps if the wheels really come off. But right now, I'm kind of inclined to think that this would hold it up here. If you want to see what this line is, where this line is drawn, that orange line is drawn over this top, this top, this top, and this top. See there? So let's see what happens. But you can see there are a number of reasons to be concerned about Apple from a technical standpoint. The break of this channel, the fact that this could be a climax top, having come out over the top of this this channel line right here, and then that little broadening formation, not a good thing. And I want to tell you right now, I have no position in Apple whatsoever. So I have no vested interest in this. I just have been following the chart, find it very interesting, and I want to pass this along to those who are interested in technical analysis. Thanks for watching.